Hey! I'm so excited to be here today. My guest is super awesome. I have new headphones, and this is episode 25 of Awkwardly Awesome Podcast, which starts right now. Episode 25 with Troy Johnson.
Today's guest, Troy Johnson.
Hey, I'm thrilled to have my guest Troy Johnson on today, and I don't want to steal any of his thunder, so I'm not going to read a bio as usual. We're just going to get into his epically amazing story. Okay, please help me welcome Troy Johnson. Hey, Troy, good morning. Thanks. Good afternoon where you are.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you. And let's start slowly with your story. So first, we better establish that you and I we didn't know each other, but we went to the same school a long time ago. Want to tell a little about that?
Sure, it's quite a coincidence that we're actually both from the same hometown, Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Woo!
And yeah, go Sioux Falls. And we went to the same elementary school, All Saints. And I was only there for 1 year. I went there for my kindergarten year. And I think that it's quite possible that he was there as well at the same time. We're not sure about that because that particular school, which is a beautiful school, downtown area, it looks like a castle. It's made out of granite. And it closed that year. It's got pink granite. It's just a real pretty building. But yeah, it closed that year. And so I went to a different school after my kindergarten year, and that's how we knew each other.
It's amazing. So how was like the rest of your grade school and high school?
Oh, it was wonderful. I went to Robert Frost in middle school, and then I completed my schooling at Lincoln High School. And I played tennis, loved snow skiing and doing all sorts of activities. So I really enjoyed
it. Did you play tennis on the high school team?
Yes. Yes, I was on the high school team there.
Wow. So when you were about what was it, 12 years old or so, you had a unique test.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I had a blood test where they tested to see if I had this particular genetic disease. It's called Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. And they in fact confirmed that. And at the time, they decided to test me because, it was my grandmother's sister had a grandson that was going blind around that time. And so if I'm 12, that would put me back in roughly 1992 was when I believe I got tested. So that I was positive, and one of the benefits of that diagnosis was that, I wasn't symptomatic at the time, and they really don't know what could cause you to start going blind. So they thought potentially environmental factors might be something to worry about. So my parents would often say, don't do drugs and don't drink. So that's one of the benefits of this whole situation, was I steered clear of all that, but to no avail.
Well, once you got the diagnosis, did you worry about it much in high school? Or?
Yeah, no. I remember every once in a while I bring it up, and it was kind of an issue or something that my buddies would poke fun at me about, because it's kind of like you almost think it's made up at certain times. But I always remembered that my mom had told me, should I show any symptoms in my eyes at any time, that I should go to an optometrist or an ophthalmologist to have my eyesight checked. And, yeah. So I always had that in the back of my mind, that if something was going to happen to my eyes, that I needed to go get them checked.
For all the people listening, if you have any questions for Troy, please, or for me, please comment. So, thank you. So then, you went on to college, and how was that for you?
Oh, it was great. I went to college in Montana State for a couple years.
Oh, Montana State! I didn't know this. I'm learning new things about you as we talk.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, in fact, during high school, by the way, just to backtrack a little, I was a National Outdoor Emergency Care Technician. I was on the ski patrol at Great Bear Ski Valley. And so my passion for snow skiing, kind of directed me toward Montana State, because they had such a great ski resorts. They have Big Sky and they have Bridger Bowl. And so I studied hard, but I also I skied a lot too. And I guess after I'd gone to college there for a couple of years, I decided that to take to change things up. So I ended up deciding I was going to go study abroad in Costa Rica. I spent 3 months there studying Spanish.
Wow.
And yeah, that was a lot of fun. I was in the cloud forest for about a month and a half, and then I came down to Guanacaste and stayed by the beach. And I was living with host families, and it was a crash course in how to learn Spanish quickly, because the host families don't speak a word of English. So if you wanted to eat, you had to be able to ask for things.
Yeah. So necessity really helps you learn quickly.
Yeah, and then after that, I completed my bachelor's degree at Eckerd College in 2003, and that college is actually in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's what brings me down.
You went to Florida because the skiing's so good in Florida, huh?
I read about it in a book that it was a good school. I also I really enjoy windsurfing. I love windsurfing too. Mm-hmm. And so I had my windsurfer. I strapped it on top of my Bronco 2. I had a Ford Bronco 2 back then, and I strapped it right on top of my Bronco and drove all the way from South Dakota to Florida, and I loved it. I remember right as I got to about Tampa, and I was going over there's a pass, like a pass that goes over some salt water, And I remember as I'm driving, I looked to my right, and I saw two dolphins surface.
Oh,
And I thought that's the way to welcome me to my new college. I thought that's great. So then we drove over the Skyway Bridge, and I arrived. Or actually, I didn't drive over the Skyway because it's the college is before the Skyway. But um, yeah, that college was great. And in between classes, I would go windsurfing in the bay, Boca Ciega Bay. It was really fun. And by the way, I still windsurf. By the way,
you still windsurf?
yeah, I can still windsurf. I have a helmet that has speakers on the inside that we've used to help me get back to shore, because it's windsurfing is a lot of people have a difficult time with it, but for me it's like riding a bike. You can't see the wind, so you have to feel it. So I don't really have any trouble windsurfing. I do have trouble though finding where my house is, or where's the lake cabin, how do I get back?
So we'll get more to that in
Sure.
a bit, but so far what you've described sounds pretty typical for like an extraordinary life, playing tennis in high school, going out west so you can ski while you go to college, going to Costa Rica, going down to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But then that was a very unique day.
It was normal. I mean, my life was normal. I mean, I graduated, and then after that, I took a job as a sign manufacturing sales rep, and I really enjoyed that position. I was in charge of new school construction and high-rise condominiums, and so, ironically, I was put in the position where I had to go and look at blueprints, and I had to be real well versed in all the codes and regulations for ADA accessible signage.
No way, for ADA.
Yeah. Braille, and had to know the tactile lettering. That minimum text size is 5/8 of an inch, and so that's what I did for my career for the first 2.5 years, and that brings me right up to the point where I was diagnosed with levers.
So what was that day like? Or first, why did you go into the doctor that day?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm working, but I'm noticing that my left eye was blurry, unusually blurry, and I was concerned. So I decided that I needed to go into this Center for Sight, where they have all sorts of different doctors, and the one that I went to see was an optometrist. But this particular optometrist works right. It's not like one you would find in just the average store. This one is an optometrist that's surrounded by ophthalmologists' offices. So she was knowledgeable, and I remember she was looking at both eyes and saying, "Is this better? Is this better?" Click, 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 click. And she seems, how they switch back the lens to see which one's better. And on my left side, no lens was making it any better. And I remember seeing her face and thinking she seemed puzzled. And right at that moment, I said, "Oh, I do have labors." The next sentence that came out of her mouth was, "You have 1 year left to see." It felt like a ton of bricks on my shoulders. I was devastated. I remember tearing up. And I'm a pretty tough guy, all those sports and whatnot. But then you go out and you get given a diagnosis like that. And I remember going to my vehicle and sobbing quite a bit because, it's a lot to deal with. This was around September 1st of 2006 was when I was diagnosed. That would have made me 26 years old.
How do you even start to comprehend that kind of news?
Well, obviously, it's good to have a supportive family, but I mean, at first, it's just devastating, and then it's you have to pick your head up and move forward. And at that point, I spoke to my mom about it, and it was all hands on deck, trying to figure out if there's anything that's possible that could be done. So I was seeing all sorts of neural ophthalmologists, and they would often just shrug their shoulders and just more and more just document the level of vision loss that was happening with me, and saying there's really nothing we can do for you. And ultimately, it took about 2 months for my vision to get so bad that I couldn't drive. But it was from September until early December that my left eye was getting worse and worse and worse, but my right eye was still functional, so I could still drive, and that made me feel independent. But I knew some bad things were coming, so I actually started using a website called roommates.com, and started renting out my guest bedrooms as a way to supplement my mortgage, because I could foresee that that this could impact my income. So in December of that year, 06, my right eye started being affected as well. I remember driving home from Thanksgiving. I was on Longboat Key, and I'm just heading right home, and a mail truck just came out of nowhere. And it wasn't his fault. He was just pulling over to put mail in. But if I'm driving 40 miles an hour and he's in a blind spot, I was just it was terrible. So
was it a close call, or did you hit him?
I didn't hit him, but it was a close call, because it just popped out of nowhere, because normally I would have seen it at a half mile or even a mile for that matter. But now there were these blind spots that are appearing in my central vision. I still have peripheral vision to some extent, but that's not any help when you're going 45 miles an hour. So I remember that. So it was shortly after that the neural ophthalmologist told me that I shouldn't drive anymore.
But you started really adapting fairly early on with going to roommates.com and getting roommates and.
I did. Tried to adapt as quickly as I could. I started using my bike to ride around and get around. Meanwhile, I was still working as a sign salesperson, and I was doing everything that I could to stay in the position. And one thing that I think helped me out was reaching out to the Division of Blind Services. They really helped in vocational rehabilitation. really try to keep you in your job if they can. And so my job though was reading blueprints and finding every place where the new building was going to need signage, whether it be a monument sign or outdoor lettering, all sorts of things. And then I'd have to have the AutoCAD guy was the one who would drive me to and from work because it was on his way. But it was getting too difficult. So I was really, after a while, I mean, even magnification wasn't helping enough on the computer, or the magnification devices that they gave me to read the blueprints. There was no way I could keep up. So I ended up having to resign and quit that job because I wasn't really helping the company anymore. So that was really sad because it was a good job. But that was around March or April of 2007, and that was right around the point when the Division of Blind Services, they issued me a white cane and then provided some mobility training in order to learn how to use that and figure out how best to cross the street and things like that.
What's the moment? What's it like? The moment when you first get your white cane?
Well, it was nifty. It's nifty. It's a nifty piece of technology. It's as simple as it is. Very simple. The technology hasn't changed with that cane very much in many years, but a lot of people ask me when I'm wearing it, "What are you wearing? What is that?" They think it's some weapon or something. Oh, I say it's nunchucks. Because it's folded up about this big, and you let it go and it flips open, and then it's about 5 foot in height. Obviously, it's sad to get a white cane and have that much vision loss. I mean, I would say my vision is roughly 22,000. It's very poor, but it's also liberating in a way because now I've got this assistive tool that's going to help me navigate, and it also serves well to identify me to the public, because I believe it was in, not sure what year, it was like 68 or somewhere in there. President Johnson, he made a white cane day, and that's it's good to have that, because that way people know when I'm crossing the street that I'm vision impaired, especially with how I'm using the cane.
When you say happiness is a decision, what do you mean?
Sure. Well, when you're dealt a tough hand, you can keep your head down or keep your head up. And I remember my production manager telling me that while I was dealing with this, he said, "Keep your head up." I think he was in the Army at the time. So it's one of the things he said to tell me, and I thought, well, that makes sense. I should just keep my head up. And I need to keep positive, very positive. One of the things that helped me get through a lot of the adversity that I had was my mom had sent me all of her motivational CDs and tapes. Although these were the ones that she would listen to when she was in the 1980s. She had a sales position for a label making company. Like, she did some labels like Soft Soap and Coors and various other ones. And so she'd be driving all over the country and listening to these sales tapes that motivate you. And one of the characters in one of those tapes that I remember the most, his name was Zig Ziglar. Yeah, Zig Ziglar. And he used to say that he was the fastest drawl in the South.
I've never heard that. That's funny.
Yeah, the fastest drawl in the South. I thought that was funny too. And one of the key points that I took away from his speeches was that whenever he introduces himself to somebody, or just is at the grocery store or anything, and you know how you're checking out and the lady will say, "How are you doing?" He would say, "Super good," or "Life is good and it's only getting better." And he said, you need to consciously make a decision to say that. And it made a lot of sense to me, because I've never had a clerk or someone at Starbucks or anybody react badly when I tell them, when they ask me how I'm doing and I say I'm doing super good and it's only getting better. They don't mirror back negativity. You know, so if somebody says, "How are you doing?" "Well, life's a battle. I'm trying to get through it." You know, that's a cycle of negativity. Where on the other hand, if you think positively and you put that out there, that's what you're going to get back. And I feel like that really helped me get through it.
So you have a very positive mindset, but how does it? I mean, knowing your story, I can see it translates into lots of opportunities. But would you say there's a direct connection between your mindset and the opportunities you find, or are they two different things?
Yeah, I think that there's a direct relationship between your mindset, your determination, and what ultimately happens, with your life.
How are they related?
Well, obviously, if you're dealt with adversity, disability, or you're dealing with a loss, and it just makes you feel really down, it's going to make it harder for you to succeed in business or in life. So you just have to consciously decide that that life is good and it's only getting better, and you're going to do what you're determined to do. I once heard in one of those tapes, again, that confidence is the memory of having done a job exceedingly well.
Confidence is the memory of having done a job exceedingly well. That's
Perfect.
Beautiful.
That's what it is. And so I guess I had to reinvent myself afterwards. I remember when I had to quit my job, and here I am. I've got a little bit of income because now I have 2 guests in my house, renting out the guest bedrooms, but I had to figure out what I'm going to do. So the Division of Blind Services, they put me into an intensive training course on how to use a computer again. And I would say that was one of the most liberating experiences for me, because I went to college in the late 90s, and I was working in the early 2000s, so the computer was crucial for me. Buying things online, whatever, making plane reservations, contacting roommates, for instance, online, all that stuff. It's essential. And then right around April of 2007, there was a span there of about 4 or 5 months where I was kind of in the dark. I didn't have the ability to get on the internet. I had the ability to magnify a little bit the screen, and if I got text to be about that big up and I put my face that close to the text, I might have a chance of seeing what it is, but that's exceedingly tedious to try and use a computer like that. So they started teaching me how to use the computer using audio for feedback, and I was trained to use JAWS, like the movie, but it's actually an acronym for Job Access with Speech.
Mm.
And that's been very liberating, because once I knew how to use the navigation keys, there are many instances where I can be faster than someone who has a mouse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's great. I mean, you and I were talking earlier about how fortunate we are to live in a time where there's so many assistive technologies. Because I can't imagine if all I had was Braille or something to that effect. In fact, that was one thing I was never even introduced to. They didn't even want to bother with it, because there's so much technology out there that can give me audio for feedback. I mean, at the time when my vision went, I was using a flip phone. It had tactile numbers. And here I am being really worried about this brand new device that's got a touch screen, the Apple, or what's called the iPhone. And then I was online, and I told my wife, I got married too, which is great. But
Oh, by the way,
we'll talk about that too. But yeah, I was wondering, gosh, how am I going to use this thing? And they have something called VoiceOver, and it's great. So anywhere my finger goes on the screen, whatever's underneath it is spoken out loud, and all I got to do is double tap. Whereas a normal person would they see something they want, they tap once. But for me, I touch the screen and I can hear what I want, and then I double tap. So that's how that works, and it just works. It's great. It's remarkable. And then with the computer, I'm using navigation keys to find different links using first letter navigation, and ultimately, while I was after I learned how to do that, it dawned on me that this website, roommates.com, was a really great business. It was a good opportunity. And I thought maybe I could help others in the same type of business. So I ended up starting my own company called snowbirdseeker.com. And it's a seasonal rentals website that facilitates communication between seasonal rental owners and snowbirds.
Was this before Airbnb became big?
I would say it's got to be a very similar time period. Yeah, I have to look back. I think they founded around 2008, 2009. So yeah, it would have been about the same time period. I would love to be as large as them, but I'm not yet. So if you want to, if you have a seasonal rental, please feel free to list your property on snowbirdseeker.com.
Snowbirdseeker.com.
Yeah. I've helped a lot of people. I've got several thousands of rentals and renters that have joined the site.
Well, that's great.
And I guess I was also kind of forced to be adaptable too, because I had a little bit of seed money, so I was able to get the site started, and then I also was able to be received some help from the Division of Blind Services just to get the ball rolling with my new business. And I remember getting it going, and then I remember the developers saying, in order to get more hits, that you could use Google AdWords. And that's the primary marketing program that Google uses, is called Google AdWords. It's actually called Google Ads now, but and so I had to do trial by fire, and I just poured my energy into learning how to use that program. And that's been a great business for me too, because I learned how to market my own website. And then at one point I just decided, well, gosh, if I can do this so well, I bet I could help others in marketing their businesses. And I just started helping out my neighbor. He had a lawn mowing company, and I helped him get leads using that program. And I ultimately was certified as a Google AdWords manager. And now I have, I guess right now I have 14 clients, but I've probably helped 3 or 4 dozen clients over the years with their marketing projects. And my primary goal is to reduce their cost per conversion. That's what I do.
Wow.
And I guess, let's see, would have been around 2009, would have been when I met my wife, Karen, and we were married in 2010. Actually, it was March 5th, 2011, to be exact.
How did you two meet?
Well, sure, we met at a birthday party because I was training capoeira at the time. And yeah, and we had a daughter, and our daughter's name is Lucy. And I thought I'd make it a point to explain why we chose the name Lucy. She's named after the Saint Lucy, which is the saint for the blind.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. So you just rushed over it. Oh, by the way, you do
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything else, or just let people see the video first?
Oh, sure. I mean, please feel free to click on the video link. It's a blast. What you're seeing there is.
It'll show. I'll show it quick, and then you can talk more about it.
Oh, okay. That's how it works. So
how did you figure out how to make this intensely tough Brazilian martial art form work for you?
Well, I remember at the time I was living with a French roommate. He was a really nice guy, and we'd go to the beach, and sometimes he would see these guys and gals that were practicing capoeira on the beach, and he just told me that I'd really like to try that. And he learned that there were some classes that were being given at the YMCA, and I thought, well, I can do martial arts, and I thought I don't have to worry about running into a tree or something like you would with riding a bike or something like that. So I thought, well, let's try it. Let's go ahead and do it. So I went over there and I tried it, and it really worked great. The teacher, who's an instructor, it's like a level that you get to, instructor. His name's Gustavo. He's a really nice guy, and he actually had a hearing impairment, so he kind of was sympathetic to my issue, or my disease, and it was so much fun just to try and learn to get coordinated and figure everything out. And capoeira, best defined, is Brazilian dance fighting. And I do remember though that you're training all these moves, and you're training to do what you saw in the video, which is participate in the roda. That's RODA, but they pronounce the R with like a little bit of a H noise. And I remember the first time I tried a Hora with at the YMCA, they well, you kind of squat down low, and then you reach out your hand to shake the hand of the person that you're about ready to play. They call it playing capoeira. You're about ready to spar with them, and the first thing you do is you shake their hand, and then you do a cartwheel. You do a cartwheel into the circle of people that are clapping. And I'd never done a cartwheel in my life, even when I could see. So it was, needless to say, very, very challenging to learn all this stuff. I mean, I just fell. I basically, rolled over and fell in to the Hora, and they're fine. They just pick you up and dust you off, and then you're able to keep training. But yeah, gradually over time, I would just figure it out. Learning, I just pushed myself to try new things and see all that I could do. And I would travel or practice probably 2 or 3 times a week sometimes. And ultimately, I got quite good. The video that you saw there, I was earning my 5th belt. They call it cords. I was earning my 5th cord, and you just you're able to show off your stuff and all the kicks that I learned. And a lot of capoeira involves spin kicks and dodging. So the idea is to not get kicked, and obviously that is difficult for me. I did get kicked a few times in the face, once by the master. But that's another story. So you got to be able to you're supposed to sort of communicate with your partner where it's not choreographed. So you have to be able to anticipate when they're going to kick, and you dodge, you get down low, or you do a cartwheel to get out of the way.
So how do you anticipate when your partner is going to kick?
Well, it's a good idea to train capoeira with people who know you. Because obviously it's far more difficult for me to tell when they're going to kick me, or when they're it's hard. It's almost impossible to anticipate every kick. But one of the things that did help me a lot was they teach you how to stay very low to the ground. So if I'm already really low and the kick's going to go way high, odds are it's going to miss me. It's going to go over me. But the primary, I guess, piece of advice if you're a vision impaired person trying to do capoeira is make sure that the people that you're training with know you're vision impaired. So they'll go easy on you. But I like the martial art too, because you could put in some of the capoeira music on a CD and play it on the speakers, and I can do it in my driveway for an hour or so and get a killer workout, and I don't even need an opponent. I could just do these really cool movements that we learn, and I could just imagine that I have an opponent in front of me. And I really enjoyed that element of it. At one point, I don't do it now. This particular move, I don't do it anymore. But I got so good that I actually learned to do a backward handspring. In fact, in that very video, instead of doing the cartwheel that we typically do to get into the circle of people there, I turned and did a backward handspring to enter the Hora.
Wow. So Ryan Flipson, do you know him? He's from Sioux Falls too.
Ryan who?
Flipson?
Flipson? I know Shellpfeffer, but not Flipson.
So anyway, Ryan Flipson says, love that Lucy is named after St. Lucy. I'm blind in my right eye and wear a medal of her.
Oh, wow. There it is. Oh.
So
I
he
could.
he
That's
can
great that
relate.
you're. Thanks for reading the comment. That I guess I can hear the. But that would be it. Take too much time if I diverted my attention to the screen. I could go find out what they said because my computer talks out loud.
Yeah, that's
But
so.
I'd
So
rather just focus
here,
on you.
so here's an essential question. So many of us, including me, many times, like we try to do like a cartwheel and then we fall down and then we tell ourselves, I'm just not good at doing a cartwheel, and then we quit. So what would you tell us people who quit things too early?
Well, I think it was Henry Ford that said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. So which one are you going to decide? So I prefer to decide that I can, and it takes time for you to retrain the body to learn certain things. To you have to push yourself a little bit now within reason. Now, obviously, there are certain limitations. There's people out there with severe disabilities or whatnot that prevent certain activities, but incremental, I guess, steps really make a difference. So, if you have trouble doing the cartwheel, but you could maybe do like close to it. You put your hand on the floor and then you just do a hop. That's kind of like it resembles a cartwheel. You start there and you move a little bit farther the next week, and then the next week after that, you build a little more strength. I'd like to reference again one of those sales tapes that I was listening to all that time ago when I first went blind, and in it they talk about this is one of those sales tapes and how to reach the next level. They talk about what's the real difference between someone making $1 million versus someone making $100,000 when you're a racehorse. Okay, so imagine racehorses. They're out there doing the best they can. They're racing real hard, but then one racehorse just puts in a little bit more effort, and gets his nose right across the finish line. Okay, the difference between that horse that put a little bit more effort, just a little bit, not a lot, like they didn't study like for 6 hours of the night for 10 weeks. No, they just put in 5 minutes of study time or whatever, and that little push got them across the finish line and got them the number one purse in to put it in the terms of racehorse. And the earnings for that racehorse that actually finished first, like most of the time, is $1 million versus the other ones who finished maybe second or third or fourth place, and their earnings are closer to $100,000. It's just an example of we just got to push ourselves to reach the next level, and you don't have to do superhuman things. Just do a little bit extra each day, and it can really pay dividends.
Speaking of doing a little bit extra, tell me about your running career.
Oh, sure. Yeah, right around when my daughter was born, I was out running with my brother, and needless to say, I was disappointed with my performance. I can run if I am close to someone, and at that time, that's all you could do. Is as long as I was close to someone, very close, they would protect me from cars or from running into something. And so I just stayed real close. Even with my wife, actually, especially in the beginning, I would go running with her with a lanyard. Or actually, it was a dog leash, but we can call it a lanyard. I held the end that you would clip to the collar. So I held that, and she held the handle part, and we would run together like that. But yeah, it was right around when she was born. I thought, gosh, I'm not in the best shape as I used to be. So I knew of a place near my house that has a big lake, and so I started running over there, and it's been a lot of fun, and I got a little bit better. I used to run probably at a 10-minute per mile pace in the beginning. I've always been in pretty good shape because I'm doing capoeira, or I'm going to the gym and lifting some weights and doing maybe running a little bit on the treadmill. But it was really right around when my daughter was born that I took up running and got a little bit better and better and better at it. And then I actually started. Actually, I remember I met these two guys, and they said, "Hey, do you run?" Oh, sure, I run, and they were great. They just were very kind, and they invited me to go running with them. And so they picked me up, and these two friends, I started running with them, and ultimately I learned that when they run, they often win money. That just I'm just trying to point out, like, the type of runners that I was running with. They're very fast, and so that was very helpful for my running career, is because I was being pulled along by these elite 5-minute mile running type people, and that was great. But yeah, so I started running. It would have been around 2014. And I've even participated in many races now, 5Ks, I've done 10Ks, and I'd like to do a half marathon. I did a half marathon when I was 23, back when I could see, but I'm quite confident now that right this present day, I would run much faster than I did when I was 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of running, that we have one more video to show.
Oh.
So
I like the background music. It's great.
Yeah, Chris, who I work with, did a great job with that. But so you wear a special
Right. Yeah, I do wear a vest. The vest says blind on the front and the back. That's really good to help identify me. And I'm running in these races, and fortunately, sometimes I have someone who runs with me that I used to run with, but more recently, I've been just going to the races on my own. I'm very familiar with this track. It's in a park called Benderson Park, runs around a lake, and I just know the track fairly well. But more recently, I've been running, and I'll be participating in these races, and I've found this recurring theme that I'll go running out away with the whole group, the whole pack, and I have this vest on, but I'm running on my own, and I'm trying to use the best of my peripheral vision to keep track of the asphalt and the grass. The bike path and the grass. I'm trying to stay on the right shoulder because I'm very used to doing that. If I get to the left, I could be hit by an oncoming bike. We don't want that. So I'm staying on the right, and I'm running as fast as ever I can with the pack. And as the race gets thinner and thinner, there are fewer people near you. So I'm running like crazy as fast as I can, and never fails. It seems like right as I get to the halfway point, a, a good Samaritan will start saying things behind me. They'll say, "We're almost there to the turn," or something like that. I'm like, "Oh, thank you, thank you." And because there's this point. I mean, in certain races, I'll be like, "Where do I turn around? Where do I turn around?" Because I'm just working my best, my hardest. I can barely breathe. I'm saying, "Where do I turn around?" And so I'm turning around, and because they stop me. They're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! You're here. Turn around, turn around." So I'm running back from we're doing a 10K now. I'm heading back, and then I hear these footsteps behind me, and I think, boy, geez, this guy's got energy. He's about ready to pass me, and I'm normally at the front of the pack. I'm doing about a 7-minute and 20-second pace,
which is fast.
I'm running as fast. It's about as fast as I can go in a 5K. It's a 7:20 pace. And here I am, I'm going as fast as I can go, and I hear these footsteps behind me and thinking, gosh, what? This guy's going to pass me. And no, he comes up behind me. He's a younger guy. And he says to me, "You're doing great. You're doing great. The bridge is coming, and we're going to turn there." And then all of a sudden, he's this good Samaritan, and he's running with me the whole time, and he's telling people to get out of the way and stuff. And so I call him my angel. These guys that they come to help me. So, and it always seems like it's halfway through the race this happens. And in this particular race, the 10K, he ran with me the whole way back, and was great. He was helping me at some point to avoid the oncoming runners, and so, oh geez. Anyways, because we go back, I thought I had my phone off, but it must be the internet or something. Anyways, back to the story. So I'm running back, and here we are. We're just booking it, and we make it to the finish line, the two of us, and he's right next to me, and he finished in front of me. I finished just a little bit behind him. We were just seconds apart, and I gave him a hug. I said, "Thank you so much." And the reason why I think he's an angel is because I went back to the race results to find out his name. I didn't get his name. And I look at the race results, and there wasn't a man that finished a minute in front or behind me.
Wow.
So, and this guy was seconds away from me.
Wow.
And so that's why I think he was an angel, because it's like, he's not even in the results. There was a female who was about, I guess, 20 seconds in front of me or something to that effect. But I went back to the race results and said, "Where is he?" And
that's amazing.
I thought about it, and I actually think what happened was this guy was maybe in his college years or a high school kid who was a volunteer at the halfway point. And I think at that point he might have said to one of the other volunteers, "Hey, I'm going to run with this guy," and so he started at the halfway point. So that's what my thinking is how he didn't show up in the race results right next to me.
That's so cool. We have just a few minutes left, but a few more important things. So you're an author too.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
So could you tell me quickly about the book?
Yeah, of course. Well, I think it's really important to be financially literate. Since I was young, I actually read the book, The Millionaire Next Door, and it had a remarkable impact on my life. And I wanted to share these important principles. And I came up with this humorous title that stars my daughter. And the book is called Money Does Grow on Trees. You just have to plant the seeds. And it's a great book that it teaches you about the importance of saving, how to run a business, and about delayed gratification and whatnot.
Sweet, and the Amazon link is on the bottom here. And probably just Google money does grow on trees, so plants seeds, right?
It's if you go to Amazon and you were to search exactly, money does grow on trees. You just have to plant the seeds. You would find it. Otherwise, you could go to firstmoneytree.com and you could find information there too.
And one more question before we give you contact information. I like talking about imperfect best, and to me, doing your imperfect best means going for life, going for the best in your vision, even if there's imperfections and mistakes along the way. We learn from them instead of being stifled by them. So what I ask all my guests, what does doing your imperfect best mean to you?
Yeah, it means that you have to look at all the challenges that are in front of you, not as what can keep you down, but rather an opportunity to grow.
Look at all the challenges in front of you, not as what can keep you down, but as an opportunity to grow. Wow. And you embody that. You really you practice what you preach. So
Yeah. Well, what else are you going to do? That's another thing my old boss said. It's like, what else are you going to do? You got to keep your head up and move forward and focus on what you can do. I'm often reminded that I'm vision impaired, but in other circumstances, I often forget. It's remarkable. I'm like when I'm on the computer typing away, it just seems to fade away, the fact that I'm blind, because I'm taking in the information through my ear, and it just sort of fades away. And so I'm focusing on what I can do rather than what I cannot do.
Focus on what you can do.
Yeah.
And lastly, if people want to get a hold of you and
Sure. Mm-hmm.
What would be the best way for them to do that?
I would say text message. Is that phone number on the podcast there, or?
Yeah. I just put it up. So 941-586-2175. Yeah,
or a phone call or a text message. Text message is probably the best way if I don't answer. Yeah.
Sweet. Thanks so much for your time and for your wisdom. Do you have any last powerful words for the audience as they go off and live their lives and navigate the challenges that come their way?
Well, I'm just so grateful that you had me on the podcast. Keep on moving forward, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, cool. This has been thanks so much, Troy. Okay. Now I'm going to do the outro.
Okay.
This was not smooth how I'm doing this outro. But now I will. Okay. Okay. Now the outro. Wasn't that amazing? Oh, so here's the outro. Have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in next week.